I feel like this has the potential to be the saddest garden tour I've ever done. But we had our first frost. We've had multiple nights now where it was between 20 and 30 degrees for 5 to 8 hours, and the garden is feeling it. It's definitely on its last legs in a lot of ways. So I thought it would be interesting to show you what has survived the frost, because that's what we've got to work with now. Along the way, you're probably going to see a lot of really gross, sad plants. So we'll start in the tea garden and greenhouse area. I don't know what happened to my green stalks, you guys. I should have put the covers on them because these brassicas are so sad. They all just got munched to bits. I'm gonna probably start some lettuce and other things under some grow lights and try to refill these this month. Beautiful mums, croton, and coleus are all gone. Goners. So gross looking. This mum too really just kind of needs to be pulled out, although the green underneath still looks really nice. It's just the flowers. I did plant some broccoli in here, never covered it. It's suffering. I thought maybe if they just went for this one, they'd leave this one alone. They have not. Look at those chunky monsters munching away like there's anything left to munch. The oregano is still fine in here. Lettuce is still fine. And parsley, you'll see in a couple places in the garden, is still doing all right. What I was surprised by was the leeks. They don't look good. And I know part of this is because I kind of like ripped at their roots when I went in and tried to replant this a few weeks ago, but like they really deflated after we had our frost and they just look awful. Marigolds are done here as well, but you can see a cold hardy baby seedling can tolerate a lot of stuff that an established plant cannot. We've got a little purple kale in here. Snapdragons and calendula will be kind of the theme of what's left over here. Hibiscus is gone. It is a goner. So sad. But that's just the way it goes in November. It's just, we go from like beautiful foliage and everything is just like this wonderful golden color to barren. Nothing, no life. So I am grateful that the calendula are hanging on. These ones are a little sad, but there's some really happy ones elsewhere. Stevia is really done, like really crispy bad. I thought celery would be okay down to 10, and it looks okay, but the leaves are starting to kind of curl in a way that makes me think the stalks are going to be tough and chewy now. And I'm tempted to try to just pull this out and harvest the celery root. A few of you told me when I said I didn't like celery that I should try digging up the root and eating that. And now I'm curious and I want to give it a try since these won't overwinter here anyway. This is the last of the container tea garden. And we knew that lavender I got was not going to survive here. It was not one of the cold hardy varieties. So again, more parsley, snapdragons, and calendula surviving in this bed. One of the greens that I'm most excited about growing this winter is already doing so well over here in this grow bag. If you like things that taste really lemony, you're gonna love sorrel because it's super zingy. You can see it's a little bit flattened out and sad right now, but the thing that's important to keep in mind with winter hardy plants is it doesn't mean that they're gonna look perfect all the time. It just means that they have the resilience to bounce back. So a lot of the times my kale and my sorrel and things like that will look really crappy right after a freeze has happened, but then as the day goes on and it warms back up, they perk back up. So you kind of have to be patient with the plants because they don't always look their best, but they're resilient enough to survive and bounce back when it warms up a little. Of course, we're talking about stuff that hasn't been covered or protected at all in any way. And I do have some covers on some things, and we're gonna be doing a whole video on ways you can extend your growing season to have as much stuff growing as possible. But one of the things that I pretty much never grow under any protection, although I am experimenting with putting some in the greenhouse, is snap peas. Snap peas are pretty cold hardy plants. You'll see some wilted spots here. This is just where I accidentally broke the vine. It's not actually damaged from the cold. I have been loving having the snap peas going this time of year and adding like this big pop of green. I wish I had planted even more, honestly. I could have gone a little bit denser with them, but having like the purple flowers on here in November is so exciting, and we're starting to get some food off of here too. These are the front beds that we just reset, so everything that we had just put in here is doing great. Look at this Violetta pak choi. I just think it's so pretty. Like, I can't wait to see it full grown. But again, our marigolds are done for the year. This is the endive that I cut back really hard because it got munched like crazy. And you can see it's already put on all new growth since we did that video. It's looking a lot happier. I did stick some of my decoys in here to hopefully keep the cabbage white butterflies away. The jury is still out on whether or not that is effective. We'll see. This calendula really needs to be deadheaded, and actually I've been trying to sprinkle some chaos seeds as I go anytime I see a calendula that's already gone to seed. The blanket flower is native here, so I know it will overwinter in here, but I'm thinking it's time to cut it back, because obviously the flowers got some frost damage, but it is making new blooms. So it's tough because I want to cut it back to protect it so that it can survive the winter. But if there's a chance I could get more flowers off of it first in November, I kind of want to do that. The fact that I still have snapdragons and calendula in November, I'm trying to get calendula to live as long as possible so that I can have some of that sunshiny yellow in the garden even in the coldest, dark depths of winter. If I could get the blanket flower to keep going, that would be great. But I feel like it's not going to survive unless I put something over it to protect it or cut it back. This bed is just more of the same stuff that we had in the last bed. We've got our Violetta pak choi. We've got a bunch of different brassicas going here. Will the cabbage white butterflies find them before I get a chance to harvest? Probably. But we're trying it. We're gonna see what happens. So these are the new covers that I told you guys I would talk more about, and I'll link them for you as well. Still testing these. I have a lot of pros and a couple of cons so far. I love how easy they are to assemble and set up. The fabric's really sturdy. There's lots of zippers, so you get lots of ways to enter the garden beds still. The top unzips, but has mesh underneath so that you can vent the top if it's unseasonably warm. Downsides, I think, are gonna be, I'm still not convinced that it's not gonna blow away. It has landscape staples going into the soil, but I'd really like some way to anchor it to the bed itself, like with ratchet straps or something wrapped all the way around the bed. I did already lose one in a pretty strong windstorm. We get really strong winds off of this field, so it's tricky. Also, can't support a snow load, so if we get a lot of heavy snow, I'm gonna be out here brushing it off. They say not to use them at all in the snow. I'm gonna push that to the limits because I'm me. But I'm very impressed. Like, my heart just skips a beat every time I open this bed because it's so much more lush than anything else that's growing. And honestly, a lot of this is just radishes right now. Let me just roll this so we can take a good peek without it falling on us. So the back unzips as well. And I find it a little bit easier to get in from that side because the back wall is just a little bit higher since it's a sloped design. But what's been really great about this is I had planted those grocery store lentils in here as an experiment, and they're taking forever to mature. And I know for certain by now they would have died if they weren't covered and protected, because we still haven't been able to get a harvest off of them. We need to wait until these bottom sections start to dry out. Like, I don't feel any seed pods in here. But what's cool is that by covering it, we've been able to extend its growing season, and hopefully we'll actually get a real harvest off of this. I don't know. It's still really pretty, very lush. But with that moved out of the way, you can see our lettuce we cut back. It's a bunch of radishes in here, and I need to kind of figure out what else is going on. Like, so that's definitely spinach. I'm hoping there's some arugula. I know there's really big radishes in here. I think this is a cabbage. We're 99% sure. And you could tell, this is interesting, the marigolds closest to the edge look just as bad as the ones outside of cover, but as you get further in, they're a little bit happier. This is a big reason that I encourage you to plant intensively, not just in the summer, but especially in the winter, because it's almost like the plants are huddling together for warmth and they protect each other. So you can put the stuff that's a little bit less cold hardy in the center, and a little more cold hardy on the outside. Of course, I didn't plan it this way, so the marigolds are very much on the outside, but if I had put them in the center and packed it in really tight, there's a good chance that they would still have even more beautiful blooms on them still. What is blooming beautifully is this calendula, and it has so many more to come. I would be happy, honestly, if this whole bed was just freaking calendula, just so that I could have something beautiful to look at when it gets really cold outside. All right, let's open up this side. Pretty. That's that Violetta pak choi that we just saw in baby form over here. And I knew it was gonna be so gorgeous. And this one isn't even full grown yet. Looks like we've had somebody got their way in here, which is surprising, but not impossible. So marigolds are good down to about 40 Fahrenheit, I believe. And calendula will be good down to about 25 Fahrenheit. So I'm curious to see how long it lasts in covered areas, because it can kind of act as our thermostat in a way. We know that in here it has gotten below 40 because the marigolds all died. And I guess we'll know when it gets below 25 if the calendula starts dying too. I have this beautiful butter crunch lettuce that I feel like is too pretty to pick. And there's a bunch of carrots growing in here too, actually. I don't know, I think that might be mosh. I don't know. It's a lot of stuff like in the understory. It's overwhelmed with calendula right now, which is like both a good and a bad thing, because if and when it does die, will there be all these empty spots because the stuff lower down didn't have space to grow up? I don't know. For now, it's just beautiful. I thought I'd open up the back side of these other beds so that you can see how much easier it is for me to access from this end. It's also because the beds, you can't really tell, but they're kind of set on a slope. So this side of the beds is just a little bit like easier. The height of this side is just a little bit better for me in terms of not having to bend and kneel so much. It's interesting to me how differently this bed came out to the last one. There's a lot of weird stuff happening in here. There's like some overwintering carrots. There is some calendula, some lettuce. My favorite thing growing in here has to be my beautiful Swiss chard. And no, I didn't know Swiss chard roots would get like that either. I'm a little bit baffled by how crazy looking the root system is on these. Looks like we got some powdery mildew here. I might just pull this and hope that it doesn't spread, because it does get much damper in here without as much ventilation. So I do have yellow, red, another yellow, and another red over there. And a lot of the stuff in here is on the smaller side. I had a feeling this was gonna happen because the trees, again, behind me, block a lot of the sunlight once the sun gets this low at this time of the year. So these beds get way less sun than the last ones I was showing you. Stuff will still grow, but it's gonna take a lot longer to mature. There's some interesting mustard there. It's really just more of the same over here. We've got a lot of different mustards. I have to look this up. I should know this, but this is Gomphrena, and it just seems to get happier the colder out it is. I don't know what's gonna happen to it. It has not been affected by the cold yet at all. This bed I just pulled all the peppers out of, and there really wasn't much else going on back here, so kind of give it up on it. But you'll see the snapdragons are still thriving. There's even some white ones over here. A little bit of leaf lettuce and a couple carrots, which I should really just pick, because what is this one even doing? Oh, that's different. I don't think this one's gonna be very big. Nope. This container's been fun because there's still so much calendula in it. Look at how huge this bloom is. I really need to grow more calendula later in the year next year because it's so cold tolerant. It's really like a snow flower. I forgot to say the chives are also doing okay over here. And if we walk back over to the calendula, there's some wild onion grass that I let grow here. It's a little bit more mild than chives, and the deer love it over winter. But if I'm making like a green goddess sauce or something, I'll just run out here and grab a handful real quick. I think the lacinato kale is actually going to be really happy. We lost a few leaves from transplanting it, but there's already a new growth on it, so I'm happy about that. Right, I feel like we need a little bit of a palate cleanser from all that decay and death in the garden. So I'm going to show you what's growing in the greenhouse really quick. It's getting kind of lush in here again, which I was a little apprehensive about. We actually still have some peppers in here that I'm probably gonna overwinter. So these ones I'm leaving to try to get this fruit off of them first. But these I should really cut back, even though they're trying to make me some new shishitos here. I'm gonna cut this back and overwinter it. So there's still some peppers in here, and I am growing some snap peas, but this is all the same stuff that I've already talked about and shown you guys. There's a lot of tatsoi, beets, Swiss chard, mosh, gai choy, lettuce, endive, kale, carrots, you name it. I did pull in the rosemary to overwinter it inside. I'm also overwintering our Camellia sinensis tea plant inside. Still got some beautiful flowers on it. The plants are taking their sweet time because we have way less daylight hours already. And so I am still playing around with the idea of setting up some grow lights in the basement again, just to get some more mature plants that I can hold in here. But it's a work in progress. We're still learning how the best way to use the greenhouse is. Like, it's still just very much learning. I kind of want to get some potted evergreens. So I might get like a lemon cypress just to add some more greenery in here. But yeah, that concludes our November garden tour. Let me know what's still growing in your garden. Make sure you hit like and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks for gardening with me, and I'll see you next time.